For many years now, Ubisoft have felt like a publisher stuck in limbo with delays, reboots, cancelled projects and then silence, and a lot of promises about quality and the future. This week, Ubisoft finally stopped dancing around it. They cancelled 6 games, including the fan favourite Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time remake. They have scrapped 4 unannounced projects. 3 of them were brand new IPs and a mobile game, delayed 7 more titles, closed studios and restructured the entire company. So today I want to break down what this really means, not just the headlines but the intent behind them, and most importantly what this means for Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft's future. Okay, let's start with the facts, because there is a lot of noise online. Ubisoft have announced a company-wide reset built around 3 things: a new operating model, a revised 3-year roadmap, and a large-scale cost restructuring. Here's what that translates to. 6 games have been cancelled outright. That includes the Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time remake, a project that's been delayed, rebooted and reworked for almost half a decade. Alongside that, Ubisoft quietly cancelled 4 unannounced projects. 3 of those were brand new IPs, and 1 was a mobile game. 7 other games have been delayed to meet what Ubisoft calls enhanced quality benchmarks. And on the studio side, Ubisoft also confirmed that the closure of its Halifax mobile studio, the closure of its Stockholm studio, and the restructures affecting teams in Abu Dhabi, Red Links and Massive Entertainment. This is not a small adjustment. This is Ubisoft pulling the handbrake. And to understand why Ubisoft is doing this, we have to zoom out. The entire AAA industry is shrinking its risk tolerance. Budgets have ballooned, development cycles are longer, players are more selective, and publishers are no longer rewarded just releasing something that's big. Ubisoft themselves admitted the market has become persistently more selective. That's corporate language for we can't afford misses anymore. And because of this, Ubisoft has spent the last few years caught between 2 very different identities. One of them is a publisher chasing scale and live service reach, and the other one is a publisher built on big narrative-driven franchises. That tension hasn't been resolved, and when a company can't decide on who it is, projects become stalled and they eventually die, as we've seen. This reset is Ubisoft choosing survival over their own ambition. And I think for me, the reason the Prince of Persia cancellation hurts so much is because it's visible. This wasn't no quiet cancellation. This was a beloved legacy title that we as fans have been waiting for years. But I also don't think that it was cancelled because Ubisoft hates the franchise. I feel it was cancelled because it no longer fits this new strategy. From Ubisoft's perspective, I imagine that Sands of Time represents a long development timeline, a repeated reboots, uncertain return on their investment, and possibly no clear place in their future operating model. And when companies do a restructure like this, nostalgia becomes a luxury. And Prince of Persia wasn't cancelled because it wasn't good enough. I believe it was cancelled because it wasn't efficient enough. And that distinction matters because it tells us what else might be vulnerable with this restructure. And I think the thing that worries me the most is that most people are talking about the Prince of Persia cancellation, and rightly so, but we're missing the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is what we didn't know about. Ubisoft cancelled 3 brand new IPs before we ever even saw them. Now for a developer, this is a huge admission. New IPs is where creativity lives and dies. It's also where risk lives. By cutting 3 original projects at once, Ubisoft is effectively saying this is not the moment to experiment. That doesn't mean that they'll never do new IPs again, but in the short to medium term, I think this means that the company is retreating to what it knows will sell. And this is a publisher entering a very defensive position. And when you're in that defensive position, studio closures are never just about money. Yes, they will reduce Ubisoft's costs, but more importantly, they will also simplify their pipelines. Now, Ubisoft has historically been extremely decentralized. Dozens of studios, shared ownerships, massive coordination overheads. And that model worked when Ubisoft was releasing multiple games every year at a steady pace. But it does not work when projects are delayed, rebooted, or cancelled mid-production. Closing studios and restructuring teams is Ubisoft admitting that their old way of working no longer functions under modern AAA pressures. This is about control as much as it is about cost. But I do feel that there's a critical part that people are glossing over. Ubisoft is reorganising itself into 5 creative houses. Each of those creative houses are responsible not just for the development of games, but also for their strategy, for their branding, and for the delivery of those games. And Creative House number 1 is where Assassin's Creed lives. This group is explicitly focused on scaling Ubisoft's biggest franchises into what they describe as annual billion-euro brands. Those franchises are Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and Rainbow Six. That tells us everything. Ubisoft is no longer spreading its hopes across an entire catalogue. Currently, it is betting heavily on a small number of proven pillars, and Assassin's Creed is their biggest pillar. But I want to talk about what this means specifically for Assassin's Creed. Now, Assassin's Creed is currently the flagship franchise, but that will be no more. It will be Ubisoft's stabilizer. It will also mean that they will get a priority access to talent. They will also get protection during this restructuring. But it will also mean that they are going to have increased internal pressure to perform. If Assassin's Creed underperforms, the consequences are going to ripple through the company. And I also think that that means that they're going to take fewer risks. They're going to become more predictable. When companies consolidate, they usually become more conservative. Now, I'm not saying that that means Assassin's Creed will all of a sudden become bad, but I also do think it does mean that they will get fewer radical departures. We will also get fewer experimental side projects, and we will get more emphasis on formats that retain players longer. Familiar systems are safer than bold reinventions. Now, Ubisoft keeps using words like quality, and yes, that can be encouraging, but quality can mean two things. It could mean that they're genuinely giving teams time to polish their games, or delaying releases while keeping the same structural problems. Which version of that depends entirely on whether the restructure actually reduces friction or it just rearranges it. Here's the most uncomfortable truth that we have to live with. When 3 new IPs get cancelled, anything that isn't a guaranteed return is going to get scrutinized. That includes smaller Assassin's Creed projects, experimental formats, tightly scoped narrative experiences. Big, scalable AC projects are safe. Smaller, riskier ones now have to justify their existence. And with that, what does this mean for Assassin's Creed Jade? It was a mobile game, and we do know that a mobile game has just been cancelled. So what's next? What does this mean for Ubisoft's future? Ubisoft at present moment is trying to do three extremely difficult things all at once. They're trying to cut costs. They're trying to rebuild our trust in them. But they're also trying to ship higher quality games with fewer resources. That's not impossible. It's just not easy. And even more so, it is a very fragile model. If this restructure works, Ubisoft could emerge leaner, more focused and more consistent. But if it doesn't, I'm worried about what we'll see. We could see longer delays and even more cancellations. And we will most definitely see a higher reliance on Assassin's Creed to carry the studio. This is not a crisis moment. We are currently at a crossroads. So these are my final thoughts. This isn't just Ubisoft cancelling a remake. This is Ubisoft choosing what kind of company it wants to be for the next decade. For Assassin's Creed fans, that's both reassuring but also very worrying. It's reassuring because the franchise is clearly protected, but it's also worrying because that protection often comes with a restraint. The Creed isn't going anywhere, but the way Ubisoft uses it may change more than we expect. Let me know in the comments, do you think this reset makes Assassin's Creed safer, or better, or more at risk? And do you think Ubisoft's cutting new IPs is a smart survival tactic or a creative retreat? And that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one.